Good morning. Today is July 8th, and I decided to get up this morning and do a check-in podcast. The year is halfway done, and I wanted to talk to you and see where you're doing and kind of see what we're up to, how our vision boards have worked out. I know a lot of you had done vision boards for the year, and so I did not do one this year. I don't know if I've ever done one. I think my whole life is probably a vision board. I put things up, in the form of like art on the walls. I have my little post-it notes, and so I wouldn't say it's probably not a formal board, but I have some things up and I do set goals. And so I wanted to just check in with you and see how we can finish the year strong as I always do. I've got 5 points, and I actually made a ton of notes this morning. I have my coffee, so if I take a quick pause, that's all I'm doing is taking a sip of coffee. And I'm just going to get right into it. And like I said, like I always say, don't hesitate to ask me questions on my Ask FM. It's ask.fm /Myleik Till. It's my whole name. I've answered, I think, over 450 questions. You should scroll down. Some of them are really good. Some of you have had some really good questions, and some of them are just kind of like simple questions that many people have that they probably haven't thought through. And so that's what I try to encourage you to do is think through some of these things. And not just for me, but for yourself. I think a lot of people haven't done, enough of the work in the beginning. And so that kind of stuff's important. So without further ado, let's start. My first one is let's take inventory. That's so important right now. If you have a vision board, or if you had some goals that you wrote down, or if you just kind of had a little mental picture of who and where who you wanted to be and where you thought you'd be by now, what have you done? You know what I mean? What have you completed? And I don't think enough of you give yourself enough credit for planting seeds. Sometimes you're going to spend months or years planting seeds. What does that mean? I still today plant seeds. So, let's just say, this is something that I probably could have done in networking. Sometimes people need to see you in a certain environment to know that you're a part of this, professional group or these people. So sometimes people need to see you at certain events or doing certain things to know that you're legit. So maybe nothing happened this year, but people are starting to see you again and again and go, oh yeah, wow, yeah, I did. Do you know so and so? I don't know her, but I've seen her. She's been at some of the things that matter. And so, if you get invited to some things or you get in the door, that is also planting seeds. What can we celebrate today? What have you been doing? What does that mean? One of my personal goals has been to just simply exercise. So I have been exercising for the whole year. I'm on year 2. This August will be 2 years straight of just exercising. What does that mean? That means that one day minimum per week I do something physical, right? It's nothing crazy. My goal is 3 days a week. I'd love to do 4, and sometimes I do. But, I don't beat myself up if I only do 1 or 2 things, 1 or 2 workouts a week, because I've just decided to stay consistent. And so, you know what? Maybe in 3 or 4 years, I will always do 3 days a week. But right now, that's kind of where I'm at. Baby steps. What did you start? Sometimes that's the hardest part, is actually starting. And if you haven't started, maybe now is the time to start or to try it. You've taken the time, you've gathered the data, you've done the research up until now, and now it's time for you to try it, so that's what you should be planning and plotting on doing in these next few weeks. And you might just still be in progress, on something, and ask yourself, what did you learn? I love that. What have you learned through the experience? And then, is it time to quit? And, I don't think that quitting is always a bad thing if you find that something is not for you. And sometimes it takes for you to do something and say, you know what, this isn't for me. And I was telling the girls in the office yesterday that knowing what you don't like and knowing what you don't want at times is much better than knowing what you do. Sometimes we don't really know what we want, and, we aren't sure, but being clear on what you don't like and what you don't want, what kind of person you don't want to date, what type of job you don't want, what kind of city you can't live in. All that stuff is important. So if all you have figured out by now is the things that you're just not into, kudos to you. Um, and I think that it's time, if you have your vision board, go get some of those little red dots or hot pink dots or something cute and fun, heart stars, and start putting some stars next to the things that you've accomplished. That way you can see, even if you've done 5 or 6 or 7 things, or even if you have some like words. I know a lot of people put those really cool words up there. If you feel like that has been your mantra for the year, if you've been peaceful, if you money, all these things, if you are now there, go ahead and put some stars and hearts on it. And I would love to, at the end of the year, maybe it'd be a cool thing to see photos of your vision boards, because we edited them earlier in the year. And then, we edited and updated. And then, we had post-its. And so now we've got stars and hearts or something like that. I'd love to see how your year went. Another cool thing you can do is, in your inventories, update your resume. I don't think people realize, all the things that they've learned in a year. If I were to update my resume today, I mean, I have worked with some really awesome brands. I have made some really cool deals, and I have, done some cool appearances. You know, it's so hard. The year's just going, but put down some of the new skills you may have learned. And so that's that. Number two, take a break. I think it's summertime. Everybody goes on vacation, do a staycation. If you don't have a lot of money, people always reach out to me about taking a vacation on a budget. July and August are actually really great times to get a cheap vacation in places where it's really hot. So Arizona, there are some really cool places there. Sedona, I think. Where else can you go? Vegas is pretty cheap right now because it's hot. I actually got to go to Vegas at the end of the week. It's like 107 degrees, something crazy. Mexico. So all these places are, now in their off season, and so you can get a room for like 70% off. And so it's going to be hot, but, get in the pool, get your tan, start plotting on, getting out of town. And I read an article in Psychology Today recently about the wonders of water, and I think that that's why people love beaching and vacays, that they say that the sound of water, like whether you're at the beach or just flowing water, has the same effect on your mind as meditation, you know? So if you are stir crazy by now and it's time for a break, it's why I sent my assistant on a vacation last week, because we go hard up until about, it gets slow for us around August or September. And so, but the weather won't be great. And so I was like, okay, it's time for her to hit a reset. And she came back yesterday, and I mean, she looked refreshed. She looked, I mean, her tan was amazing, but it was just that necessary reset that we all need. Water reduces stress. Steam baths, are really great. And so if you can't get out of town, do some water therapy. I take a bath every single night, like a really hot bath, and they say if you take one 30 minutes before bed, you will have you'll sleep better. What are they? Increased sleep, or improved sleep. So I have done that for years. So I take a really hot bath every night, and I take a shower in the morning, which I know some people think is crazy. Like, why are you doing that? I grew up that way. My mother has done that my whole life, but it's like the water in the morning helps me start my day, and the hot bath at night helps me go to bed. And so maybe for the next couple weeks, if you're just taking some like spa baths, get yourself some soaps, some Lush, some bath bombs, some tea, some milk bath. Lisa Price of Carol's Daughter has a fantastic rose milk bath that you can try. We made it on Curlbox TV, but if you need the recipe, I can reach out to her. Maybe we can post it this week. But these are all things that you can do right now to kind of reset. So if you can't take a break, definitely do some water therapy. Number 3, which is my favorite topic, savings. Let's take a look at your savings. Have you saved any money? I have been saving money. I actually started to do some aggressive saving this year because I just, this is kind of I would say maybe low idea year for me, meaning not that I don't have any ideas, but that I just haven't felt the desire to execute on as many things as I would in the past. I think this has been a year of more kind of going inward, just doing things better, trying to do things better, evaluating, trying to be a better leader. I've never been a boss or in charge of so many things and so many people. And so, it's fine when you have all these great ideas, but it's good for me to look inward and see how I can improve. So I've spent the year doing that really. And so I have been just kind of tucking away my money so that when I feel like I have a great idea, I can go ahead and execute on it and not feel too crazy about it. But if you haven't set up your automatic savings, you can still do that. And by the end of the year, you can still complete your goal. So look up how you can do an automatic savings. Call your bank and see if they can just literally debit money from your checking account, even if it's $50. I'm telling you, start it, do it now. How are your emotions about spending? Are you still feeling like you need to keep up with the Joneses? You might need to do a check-in. You may need to listen to my podcast on that again, about keeping up with other people and wanting them to think that you have things. The further I kind of go in life, I look around at people and I say, people who really, really, really have money, they don't look like it because they no longer need to prove that. And so I think that it's a great exercise to start now, is that you're trying to look like you have money, therefore spending all your money on your things versus, wearing things that are within your budget or under budget, swapping, sale shopping. And I told you, you can wear the same jeans all week and no one will notice. I can assure you of that. Evaluate your bank statements. I don't know how many of you use mint.com, mint.com. It's one of my favorite resources to sort of, they break down how you're spending your money. And so I remember when I first signed up for it, I was spending so much money at Barnes and Nobles. Like, I buy so many books that it was getting out of hand. So what I started to do was buy used books. And by buying used books, I was able to save my money. And I've noticed by buying the used books that they really were still kind of new. So I started to buy used books for a while. I buy new books now, but I probably should go back to used books. But I was doing that. And, where can you edit? Where can you cut out some things? And now is the time to make the call. All your utilities, your cable, places that there's wiggle room for negotiation, your cell phone bill, and see, just by calling and saying, I'm thinking about canceling, or I'm looking around at other carriers, your car insurance, your health insurance. You'll be shocked and surprised at the deals that people can come up with. I mean, I have to have insurance on my business, and I got my statement, like, I guess for them to insure me for the next year, and it like doubled. So I reached out to my insurance agent, and I go to a place that kind of does like all my insurance. So they do my car insurance, they do all of our insurance, mine, my assistant, I do everything under one place. And I reached out to my agent, and I was just like, you know what? This is not going to work. And in a normal world, somebody would just decide, oh, I guess it just went up, I'll pay it. But I'm like, I'm not paying it. And so I think there's definitely an increase, but instead of it being double, I ended up paying like maybe an extra $40 for the year. Like, don't even try it. So now is the time to start fighting back on that. And then my favorite thing is the increase. We always focus on cutting back, but what is your increase? What are you doing? Do you have a side hustle? What can you be doing? Can you be walking dogs on the weekends? Can you babysit? Can you make friendship bracelets? What can you do, in these warmer months with more sun? Take advantage of these longer days and start making some things so that you can sell them, or set up your Etsy page, set up your thing on Craigslist, setting up your service, or do you tutor something? But now is the time to really, the summer is the best time to spend sitting outside, kind of laying out your plan. Number 4, okay, I lied. Number 4 is actually my favorite. Number 4 is the mental check. I have spent the year telling you how important it is to get what's going on right inside of your head. So many people ask me how to find a therapist, and I actually Googled how to find a good therapist, and there's this great WebMD article that says it better than I ever could on, there's so many different types of therapists, tells you kind of what they do. helping you uncover emotional problems that you may not even think you have. Because I know sometimes we don't even think we have anything, but we feel stuck in our lives, or we feel like we can't get past a certain barrier. Relationships only go so far, friendships only go so long. Um, we're unhappy with the kind of work we're doing. All of those things, in some ways, can be normal, but it's good to find out, where your blocks are, and how to help change maybe the view you may have of yourself, because most of the time it's us. Something happened to us and then we become our own enemy. And so it's like, how do we stop being our own enemy? And then you'll find that when you stop being your own enemy, you stop being an enemy to others. You stop with your negative perception and your negative views of others. It blows my mind at how somebody can post a picture or post something and people can find something negative to say about anything. And I know that that's all internal. So my favorite is, am I communicating well? I think that so many of us don't know how to really communicate. Someone reached out to me yesterday and kind of like went off on me and was like, but I don't really care. And I'm like, but you do. But you care. And it's okay to care. There's nothing wrong with caring. People's feelings get hurt. People feel slighted. I feel slighted. I feel these things versus telling me, they wrote to me that I need to get my head out of my ass and I need to not do this and that. And I'm like, you know, I can't know what's going on with you unless you communicate this with me. And you even have a right to be upset about it, but don't be passive aggressive and go off and then say, but you don't care. It's like, but you do care, okay? So learn how to communicate, and I think that we're more afraid of people's reactions to saying what we have to say, or we may be embarrassed to just say that hurt my feelings. And you have to say that. I am very open about those things, and I will just say, that hurts my feelings, or I don't really like that, or I don't really want to do it this way because it doesn't make me feel good. And these are all like things that you can say and you have a right to say. Are you still setting boundaries? Are you still setting boundaries with people? And you don't have to reply to every text message, and you don't have to reply to every email. And if somebody, you don't have to take every invitation to crazy. If somebody wants to say something to you, you don't have to respond. You don't have to go. What is your internal conversation? Are you still being nice to yourself? Or can you start being nice to yourself? Are you changing the things that you're saying about yourself? The way you look, the way you feel? And what about your attitude? I think a lot of people, I mean, it's such that simple saying, attitude is latitude, but it's so true. It's so true. When you have a positive attitude, positive things come to you. People recognize positivity, and you get tons of opportunity purely because you're positive. Doesn't matter, talent and all this other kind of stuff. People like positivity. Number 5 is, end of the year goals. What are they? Let's reset our goals and think about how we want to finish the year. What are some things that we want to do to make sure that by the end of the year we finish strong? Add something new to your goal list, because you should have changed a little bit. You should be seeing things a little bit differently. What would I like to do by the end of the year? Maybe it's complete several books. Maybe it's take a typing class. Maybe it's taking, a language, or even starting to plan your, international vacation for next year. Maybe if it's just laying out the budget, put together your goals. Envision your life much larger than it is today. That is the one thing that I'm going to ask you and beg you to do, is envision your life much larger than it is today. Envision yourself in a larger house, a larger place, a different car, a great group of friends, on a great vacation, healthy skin, healthy nails, healthy hair. Envision yourself even bigger than you are today, because that's going to help you as you plan and set the rest of these goals, and start thinking ahead. And then, what is your yearly mantra? Update that. What are you working on? What are you doing? My theme for the year has really kind of been just keep going, and I'm going to just keep going no matter how tough it gets. So that is it. I kind of went on a little bit longer than I would have liked to, but that's okay. Reach out to me. Let me know what kind of podcast you like for me to do. I love to take your request. It always helps when you go back and listen to all the podcasts, because I have covered so many things before you ask. And I know it's like some people don't like it when I say that, but it's okay because I have to be upfront and honest with you. It's like, do the work before you ask me to do something for free for you. You know, you do your part and I'll do mine. So after you've done your part, then you come to me and you tell me what else you want me to do, and I will gladly do it. But you should apply that to everything else that you're doing in life. Do your part before you ask. You know what I mean? Do everything that you possibly can do before you go to someone else. That way you are better prepared. Anywho, you guys have a good rest of the week and a really good summer. Bye.